RTS games truly have a special place in our heart, and even though we were thinking that this genre is dying, it surprised us this year with some very interesting titles. I'm Starviper and welcome to Top 10 Best RTS Games of 2023. Mechablum. This game is more of a auto battle game that is set in a science fiction world, where you have the opportunity to command all sorts of mechs that have different abilities and also unique looks. Your mech is basically your commander, and besides it you also have other units that aid you in every fight. With every victory you are able to upgrade it alongside your units. Mechablum is heavily focused on PvP, so expect a lot of competitive gameplay. And yeah, at the moment of speaking, it's still in early access. Silica is also a early access game where 3 factions, 2 of them being human and 1 being a insectoid alien race, battle for dominance over a planet called Baltarus. It's more of a hybrid between FPS and RTS, similar to Natural Selection 2, where at the beginning of each game every faction has to select a commander that plays the RTS role, while the others are soldiers and have to experience the game from a FPS perspective. Each commander needs to manage resources and construct all sorts of buildings, unlocking new technologies and playable units, while the soldiers have to capture objectives, protect the base, and eliminate the enemies. It's a quite fun concept that could lead to a very good game, especially when Silica will come to a more finished state. Now, Warhammer Age of Sigmar is a real-time strategy game and another installment in the Warhammer franchise that is quite similar to Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 2. You have to choose between 4 factions, assemble your squad of soldiers, and fight to capture territories called Arcane Conduits. Even though the game has a campaign, it focuses more on multiplayer aspects. Warhammer Age of Sigmar has also cross-platform play. Age of Empires 4: The Sultan's Ascent. This is actually a expansion to the beloved RTS Age of Empires 4 that introduces us to a whole new campaign set in the Middle East during the European Crusades. Also, it brings 10 new maps to the game and 2 new factions, the Byzantines and the Japanese. Age of Empires 4 is definitely a masterpiece, and trust me, for everyone that does not own the base game yet, go and grab it alongside with its expansion, The Sultan's Ascent. You will definitely not regret it. We have another Total War game, everyone. This time it's Total War Pharoh, where we can explore in a grand scale RTS style different battles from the ancient Egyptian era. The game has intense and dynamic battles where weather heavily affects the span of gameplay, sometimes turning the whole favor against you. Being a Total War game, it does a quite great job in creating a detailed environment and recreating somehow the feeling of the battles that were fought back in the forgotten days. War Hospital is a RTS game set in the First World War era, letting you play as a field hospital operator. We all know how brutal those periods were, so expect to play in extreme conditions and a lot of pressure, as your medical equipment will be limited a lot of times. Try to develop new World War I medical technologies that will help you in trying to save the lives of the traumatized people of that period. A brand new Dungeons game is out, everyone. Dungeons 4 lets you once again command the forces of the absolute evil and build your dream torture dungeon. There will be no limits for your evilness, as you will try to capture and corrupt the overworld. Dungeon 4 is 4 times larger, has many new traps and more horrifying units than ever before. Even though Stellaris Astral Planes has not been that well received, as it is not bringing that many new things to the base game like the previous expansions did, it is still worth to be mentioned, because Stellaris itself, with all of the expansions and DLCs, is a hefty 4X RTS game worth to be played. Now, Astral Planes brings new narrative origins like the Rift World origin, new technologies and resources to the game, and obviously the possibility to harness the Astral Rifts themselves in order to unlock some high-tech endgame knowledge. Company of Heroes 3 is a true awesome World War II RTS game and also the 3rd installment in the Company of Heroes franchise. The game is set in the Mediterranean zone during World War II and brings some iconic moments back, like the unbeatable explosions and destruction of the battle map during gameplay, but this time way more intense than the previous 2 titles. Ashes of Singularity did not launch in 2023, it did in 2016, but is definitely worth to be mentioned, as it has constantly been updated with new content in form of expansions almost every year. This game is a huge RTS that lets you control an absurd amount of units and battle for victory. The game does also an amazing job in making every unit feel unique in terms of size, because there are some units that indeed are gigantic colossi. And we come to an end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this list, don't hesitate to let a comment below with which of these games you found cool. Also, don't forget to support the channel by subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any gaming news. See you in the next video.